Hey, Bill.
Ian, hi there.
It is so nice to see you again.
Likewise.
Our audience is kind of either new or aspiring psychedelic medicine practitioners, like in clinical settings.
Uh-huh.
And they really are craving sort of advice and how-tos and, what to do, what not to do at that stage of their career. Um,
Uh,
I want to I'll say a little bit
Take
to,
me, I'll go, as I said, I'll go just about anywhere with you.
do you think that if someone goes in being a little bit performative accidentally or because they're nervous or something like that, that affects the client's experience if the therapist goes in that
Yeah.
way? Yeah.
In my experience, really, what happens in a session is like ingeniously choreographed by the mind of the patient.
Yeah.
And usually what happens turns out to be better than anything you could have planned and tried to facilitate.
Yeah, we have a thing where we tell our trainees when we're trying to convey this that your main job is to be curious and pay attention.
That's right.
And pay attention, be curious and pay attention. And then
Right.
because something will emerge that comes from the client, unconscious or whatever words we want to call for that, that emerges from something that isn't you, the therapist. You are not
That's right.
creating whatever's happening at all. Yeah. It's a really, and I have to say, like, this is kind of one of the more moving parts of the work, but also the thing that's humbling about it.
Yeah.
Like for me, when that happens, it's so humbling as a provider to go, oh my gosh, I just witnessed this. I
Yeah.
didn't make this happen in any way.
A session may open up in absolutely exquisitely beautiful, meaningful, sacred ways. And it may also open up into the darkest, scariest dungeon of childhood
Yeah.
trauma, you know?
Yeah.
And one isn't good and one isn't bad. They're both part of the journey. Sex or death or God, I'm not afraid of any of them.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes, I think that's very powerful for the client to know that the therapist feels safe and at ease with anything kind of content. And when they know the
That's
therapist feels that,
right.
it's a
And,
permission.
and that attitude really develops out of experience.
Yeah, I often do supervision with beginners, and I say things like, if the client gets afraid, the first thing to do is to track yourself. Like,
That's
it's
right.
important that you don't be afraid just because
That's
your
right.
client is afraid.
That's right.
And and really, and then there's this a teaching there about like if that is hard for you to do, then you need to do your own work, kind of
That's right.
to be able to hold this for other people.
And I think it's incredibly important that one chooses to trust. That I'm not just passive. I'll receive this substance and see what happens. You know,
Okay.
no, I choose to receive this substance and I look forward to encountering, meeting, wrestling with, learning from whatever emerges. Okay.
Ah, that's good.
Like I'm an explorer going into my own consciousness. And if there's dragons in there, I want to meet them and tame them.
Okay, I like that. I'm going to add something to what I do from that because I think what you've touched on there is not just dropping in what I call releasing, but it's also you're making a statement that I am
It
willing.
died. The image I have is being on a high dive,
Yes.
ready to dive into a swimming pool, and you don't know the depth or the temperature of the water. You choose to dive, you
Oh,
know?
that's really powerful because first, that's an act of courage.
Yeah, it is courage.
Yeah, and second, it's very much speaking from my own Jungian and all that world that I know you share.
Right.
That's an initiatory journey, the jumping into the unknown,
That's right. Uh-huh.
willingly. Yeah.
Instead of, oh no, I don't want to go down in the basement because who knows what's down there, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, if there's a monster, it's my very own monster, and I want to know what it's made of and how it got created and how I can tame it. It's been very interesting to me how some people in a first session will go straight to the blissful experience.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And then in subsequent sessions, they deal with the psycholytic areas, the childhood struggles and guilt and grief and
Mm.
uh, unresolved conflicts. And other people seem to just go up the mountain the other way. They go through conflict after conflict, and then they break through to the transcendental. You know, the
Interesting.
both ways work well.
It almost makes me wonder, and I will never be able to know if some deep wisdom in the client or the patient knows whether they need to be resourced first with a sense of blessedness or love or presence of
Uh-huh.
God, and then do the hard work, or whether they're ready to do the hard work and then will be more able to receive the blessedness. Or
Right.
like I'm just curious, like some part of them may know that, but of course
Right.
these are the mysteries that we don't.
Both work,
Yeah.
and it's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's such a those moments are so like potent to witness too.
Yeah.
This
The
is
whole
like this is when
concept
you
of
start crying with your client because it's just really
it is.
powerful to witness. Yeah.
You receive them when they come. You participate in them. Yeah.
Kind of like grace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Grace, that's the religious word.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a gift.
Is it almost like saying you may not understand it, but you just feel it? It's truth.
Yes. Yeah. And you choose to trust it.
Yeah. There's that willingness piece again that you keep bringing in. It is true that with psychedelics, the higher your dose is, the more less likely that that might go away at
Yeah.
really high doses. But especially in more psycholytic doses, we have this observer mind on board. And for a lot of clients or patients, they do, I think what you're describing is just a tendency to want to analyze the process the whole time. Like they're like intellect is chattering away in a
Yeah.
way that makes sense. That is great. I don't do that, but I think I'm gonna add that in. This idea of almost formalizing, prompting the patient to like have a little conversation with their intellect and ask it
That's right.
to just step aside for a little while.
That's right.
Okay, that's very interesting. And this idea of philosophical faith that it's almost like they don't have to believe in God in the Judeo-Christian
That's right.
sense. They have to believe that there is something, though. Like
Yeah.
there's something.
To choose to entrust yourself to something
Yeah.
deep within consciousness.
And that, again, is an act of courage
That's right.
because you don't rationally know that whether there is anything or not, and yet you're going to choose to like entrust yourself to the possibility of
Yeah.
this thing. Wow, I have
How's
never
that
read
a
that.
model of psychedelic therapy?
Yes, I have never read that, but it almost sounds like he's been doing psychedelic therapy.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I've often wondered if he and Martin Buber took mescaline together, but I can't find it. I can't find any evidence.
Because I'm in that mentoring and teaching role a lot, one of the mistakes, if I have to call it that, that I think that a lot of therapists make, and I think this comes from mainstream psychotherapy training these days, is they have a bias towards keeping the client safe. And that means in their mind, don't let them get dysregulated or too scared.
Mhm.
And so I think that a lot of times the therapist is pulling them back from this journey that we've been referencing here because of the therapist's own discomfort with the idea that the client or patient is in discomfort. I have a teacher, Cater Brown. He's great. He says, you can cry with your client as long as you're able to stop first.
I like that.
Too. I have to let him
Yeah,
know.
if not, you got to do some of your own work here.
You have given advice on the importance in your lived experience of working with the somatic side of things. That includes the patient or client's somatic sensations, but also the use of touch in service of working somatically. And I know we don't have time today to do a big treatise on how to do these things, but I wanted to ask you about it because one other thing that I see with the communities coming in to get trained is that a lot of psychotherapists are trained in modalities that actually tell you not to touch. I think there are times, especially when people are in younger states and all, which is so much of it, that if someone really needs touch and you withhold it, it's abandoning them.
That's right. It is
damaging. I'm going to talk to Bill Richards tomorrow. If you just want to ask him anything for fun. And he said, yeah, ask him if he was on a desert island and could only ever have one psychedelic, which one is his favorite?
Well, I have to see what's growing on the island here. Actually, if I was on a desert island, I might not need a psychedelic. A few breaths might be all I needed.
Yeah, that would be an alternate state in and of itself. Had to move very heavily into ketamine world for the last, it's been almost 8 years now, but because that's the one that we have to use in brick and mortar clinics these days. We have experimented with especially with an IV, you can titrate it. So you can dial it up or dial it down, and you can also make it last as long as you want. And so we have done some work with trying to mimic these different medicines with ketamine, like the longer duration or more intense in the beginning and then less, because it is so controllable. You can adjust the drip rate. Yeah, and we have sort of landed, and this is just us, but in our actual clinic in Asheville, North Carolina, with a particular 2-hour arc that is designed that like kind of we do every time that does what you've described. It's we developed that because our lived experience was like, wow, this is what works best. So it's just this really practical.
That's a major contribution. Yeah. That's great, Signe. Yeah.
Yeah, ketamine we're fortunate to have that kind of flexibility because of its.
I'm sure you're writing that up in your book or whatever, but there's a lot of ketamine therapists who could learn from that model.
What therapists who are doing this, they need to hear all these things about how to be good therapists that you and I have talked about. But there's also you kind of need some practical, how to make this work in your clinic day. So that,
That's right.
Good stuff. Okay. So you once again became my favorite person to talk to this month. So we need to do it more.